When it comes to supplements, quality matters just as much as what you eat. That's why I only recommend Fullscript to all of my clients, a trusted source for high quality, professional grade supplements that are pure, potent, and backed by science. No fillers, no junk, just the best to support your hormones, digestion, energy, and overall health. Plus, with up to 20% off on auto ship and free shipping and handling, you get premium supplements at the best price delivered straight to your door. Can you ask for any better? Ready to stock your wellness cabinet with the real solutions? Shop my Fullscript favorites right in the link in the show notes. Hi there. Welcome back to Everyday Health for the Christian Woman. Welcome back to part 2 of my 2-part interview with Misty Hughes from Mom to Mom Mentoring. So you cannot heal when your body is in crisis mode. Did you know that? You cannot restore your energy when you are living in this constant state of urgency, of push, of go, go, go. And you cannot expect your body to feel safe when it literally doesn't, when your nervous system just doesn't feel safe. So in the last episode, we talked about why so many women are exhausted, even when they're doing everything right. So today, we're going to give you some practical tips. I'm a practical tip girl, and this is not another checklist. We are talking about some rhythms that you can set up, and I think you're going to be encouraged. So lean in and listen to part 2 of my interview with Misty Hughes from Mom to Mom Mentoring. Misty, thank you so much for joining me again for episode 2.
I am so excited to be here and see what you have for us today.
Yes. Okay, well, let's hop right into it. So I have this question. When a woman finally says, I cannot keep living like this, what's the first place you usually start? Like, where do you just start that first place?
Well, I would ask her to, as a coach, it's always to be curious. What does that mean? What is living like this? What does that look like for you? And so that's exactly where I'd start, because that's pretty broad and pretty vague, and we really can't dive into what it is that they desire until we understand, where they're at. And so
Yes.
understanding where we're at is the first thing.
Yes. No, that's so good, because so often as women, we do these broad things like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, well, what is this?
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And
It's so
what is
true.
it about this? Like this might be really big, but maybe it's just a little part of this that is causing that over the top feeling. And
Yes.
so helping a woman see that, and again, asking the question, because we just get caught in our mind. And so often we need that outside voice that is bringing the question. Because as a coach, I always tell my clients, you are the expert on you. And so I'm not going to give them a formula. I mean, Amber, you don't do this. You don't give somebody a formula. Here, take these supplements, use these oils, do A, B, and C, without getting to the cause. What is it they're feeling?
Yes.
You take them through that process. And as a coach, that's what we do. Let's identify and get clarity on the problem and where you're at before we give advice, before we, help you see from a different perspective. And I think so many times we're looking for the quick fix. Just tell me what's wrong and I'll fix it. I mean, I've done that, just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. And then also, uh, you know, we want to tell people how to be fixed.
It's true.
I'm just,
Yes.
you should try A, B, and C. I did this. This worked for me. And just add to the overwhelm right there.
Yes. No, it's so true. It's like, just give me the checklist and I'll just, fix my life and like that. I mean, that's like your typical female gathering, right? Well, this worked for me. It should work for you, but no two women are the same. Like, we are also unique on a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical level. Like, every area of our lives, we are so different from our friends, our sisters, our mothers, like so
Mhm.
different. So that leads me to what would you so you encourage women to establish rhythms instead of just adding more stuff, like more checklists. Like
Mhm.
what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think of it as a framework. We're just
Yes.
gonna build, like, the frame,
Yes.
and the frame is it's your frame. You get to design and decide your frame, and then you can add the elements in different seasons of life and different, whether you're raising toddlers or raising teens, what might be within the frame is going to be different. But if we can get a framework down for how we can live authentically, what is
Mm,
important to us, who we are, who God is to us, right?
yeah.
Is God this taskmaster, or is God this kind, gentle soul that loves to be with me,
Hmm.
right? And so, who God is to us. So these are all things that help us build the frame for how we can live, lead, and love.
I love it. I love that. Looking at it as a framework instead of a checklist or adding more to your to-do list. That really that's a beautiful picture because especially from somebody who is a checklist person, I'm always having to work on that. Like I mean, we need checklists because we need to get things done, but looking at it more as like a framework, and I mean, it really does start with our mindset, like just really, really seeing like who we are, what we're created to do. We're not like anybody else. So get rid of the shame, get rid of the comparison trap, and then just really like just walking through with joy the life that God has given you with. So, how does like clarifying personal values, how does that change the way that a woman will make her decisions? Like her commitments, her boundaries, like how does that change things?
Well, it won't change things unless she allows it to change things, right?
Yes.
So the knowledge is not enough. We have to, having knowledge is one thing. It's wisdom when we apply the knowledge to our lives. And
Yeah.
so to be wise women, we have to apply what we learn about ourselves. And so if I
Yeah.
know that, these are my top 3 values, am I
Yeah.
living true to those values? And so knowing the values can help put guardrails up on my life and keep me
Mm.
on track so that I can get to the place that God is taking me. And when I take those guardrails down, I'm to the right, to the left, I'm in the ditch, I'm lost. And as a mom, like, for me, as a mom raising 4 children on my own, I had to stay on track. I desired deeply to stay on track because if I got off track, I got my kids off track.
Yes.
And I go back to our last episode where we talked about, my value was to help my children stay on track, to stay purposeful in the knowledge of the love of God that God had for
Mm.
them. Like, I didn't want
Yes.
my kids to be 36 and going, "Does Jesus love me?"
No.
I don't right?
Yeah.
Good grief, I wanted them to be rooted and grounded in the knowledge of his love, which meant
Yeah.
ultimately, I had to be there. I couldn't guide
Yeah.
my kids and give them something that I didn't have. So the knowing my values helped me stay on track to that ultimate purpose and ultimate place that God was taking me.
I love that. I love that aspect of looking at boundaries as guardrails because boundaries is kind of like it's just a really popular catchphrase. Everybody's talking about it the last 2 years. And some people view them as self centered, some people view them as necessary. But I love that word picture of guardrails because guardrails are what keep us, like what you said, on track. And it's so true that so often as women, as Christian women, we kind of like start establishing our guardrails, but then somebody comes along asking us for a favor or to serve somewhere, or to do something else or to add something else to our plate. And most of the time, it isn't necessarily we feel like that's what the Lord's leading. Most of the time, it's we feel guilty. And so we say yes. Or we feel like, well, I don't want anybody to think bad of me. So we say yes. Or nobody else is going to do it. So I guess I need to say yes. And it's not God's best for you. And so, really, keeping up those guardrails and knowing what it is that God has called you to do is so important. So, how did you establish those guardrails from your values? But like practically, like how did you establish those guardrails?
Okay, well, here's like a practical one
Yes.
that I did was, I said, "Hey, you can each do one thing in the summer or the spring season, and you can do one thing in the fall season," right?
Hmm.
So it wasn't like activity-wise, we didn't have a ton of things. Another thing that, again, I was the leader in our home, and so one huge guardrail, but it took me, I would say, 2 years to really establish this for our whole family, was a Sabbath. And
Yes.
so that was a guardrail based on what the Word of God said about resting and restoration and remembering Him and His goodness and His kindness, and how that
Yes.
had to be the starting place of our work and everything. And Sabbath was a guardrail that kept us connected as a family in the midst
Yes.
of chaos. Family meals was a huge guardrail
Hmm.
that, again, because my value was for relationship,
Yes.
I still have that value. And so relationship will always come first. So we're going to have dinner together.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how that's gonna look, but we're gonna do it. And, yeah, so
I
so
love
those were
it.
a few of the, like, practical guardrails that I worked to establish in our home, for our our well-being and for our ability to stay connected as a family,
That's so good. That's so
because that
good. It
was my
just,
value.
yeah, no, and it all connects together. You don't compare yourself to anybody else. You stay true to what it is God has called you to do. You then set up guardrails according to what God has called you to do, according to your values, not comparing yourself to others. We had a lot of the same ones. With 5 kids and being in full time ministry, each one of our kids were only allowed one activity. And we always had dinner together. And because my husband was always a pastor, our Sabbath was always Friday. Like it was a weird day, but that was always his day off. And so we always had Friday. So going, okay, so let's fast forward a little bit in a woman's life, right? So she establishes this rhythm when she has children and values and guardrails. And then all of a sudden, those kids are now beginning to leave the nest. So how do you set up
Mhm.
guardrails for that new season where all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't have kids at home anymore. So, how do you set up guardrails for that season?
Um, okay, can I pause that question for a minute, because I can I go back to, like, the values and the guardrails just for a second?
Oh
Because I
yeah, go
feel
ahead.
like there's something. Okay. So I just wanna speak to the woman that's listening to say, "These are my values," and it took work to figure out my values. And, I had a client once, and she was like, "Okay, if we do this values work, can I be honest about my values?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she had a value. She had a value of money, of financial freedom.
Yes.
And that is a God-honoring value. And so
Yes.
I just want to say, we've been told also what our values should be by
Mhm.
the church, by
Mhm.
culture,
Mhm.
by, I don't know, by the world.
Everywhere.
We've been told, "Hey, your value should be this," right?
Yes.
And if we're not honest with our own hearts and before the Lord and with that mentor or that coach or whatever, we're still going to be striving and exhausting ourselves. And so I
Mhm.
just really, really want to say God has created you. We've talked about this fearfully and wonderfully, uniquely different. Your values do not have to be my values,
No.
but finding out what they are and living within those values
Yeah.
will bring life to
Amen.
your heart. So,
Yes.
okay. And now I forget your question.
Amen. No, no, I couldn't agree
And
more.
you
It's so true. It's so true because my best friend, like, we were opposites, like total opposites. Our lives looked nothing alike. We both loved the Lord, but our values were how we walked out our love for the Lord were totally different. I mean, completely different. And I think that that's what we as women have to realize, that we don't have to look like anybody else. Like, God literally made us unique so that we could reach an entirely different people group. There's no two alike. And so, okay, so my question was,
mhm,
how would you encourage
thank you.
women? Yeah, no, how would you encourage women as their life begins to change? Because it seems like right as you figure out the rhythm and your boundaries and your guardrails, then all of a sudden your kids start leaving. So you're like, oh no, what do I do now? So I would love
Right.
to know, like, how do you encourage women to set up guardrails, like during that empty nest, like they're moving to empty nest? Like, how would you encourage that?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think a lot of times in parenting, women tend to lose their sense of self. Who am I? Who did God create me to be? I'm a
Uh-huh.
mom and this is what I do. And so you're talking
Yeah.
about that transition as our kids hit that, adolescent age, become less dependent. They're getting ready
Yep.
to sprout wings and fly. I'm going to bring it right back to who did God create you to be? Who is
Yes.
God in your life? And probably those things have not changed, right? When I got married, I also left the nonprofit that I had built and bled for and established for 12 years. And so all identity crisis on steroids, right?
Yes.
I am no
Yes.
longer Misty, huh? I've got a new name. I
Mhm.
don't have my friends. It was COVID. Everything I knew. And I will tell you, Amber, it's probably taken me 4 years to get through where I am back into this sweet spot of, oh yeah, that's who I am. I like who I
Mhm.
am because we're trying to figure it out and it's okay. Try on different clothes. Try on different things. You've got time, you've got space, you've got capacity to play around with what the expression, and that's what it is. It's a new expression of who God created you to be. You're
That's
older, you're
good.
wiser, you've got life experience.
Mhm.
It's going to be more refined and defined, but you're going to have to probably chip away at some things, at some beliefs you've come in alignment with over the past years of some ways of doing things, but the essence of who God created you to be has not changed. It says,
Mm.
the gifts and callings of God are
Good.
irrevocable. He has not changed. The expression of it will look different. He hasn't
Mm.
changed who he's created you to be.
I love that. I love that. The expression will look different. I really, really love that because my story, I was a pastor's wife for 22 years, 23 years, and now my husband is no longer in full-time ministry. And so it's been about 2 years now to figure out, like, okay, I'm still who I've always been. I've always been called to minister to women, like, as far as like that heart of mine. And so the way that God is allowing me to express it is through my business. I mean, I get to work with women and help them live a whole, healthy life so they feel like themselves again. And I love it. So I love that. it really, once again, it goes back to our mindset. The expression doesn't change because you are still who God created you to be,
Mhm.
even when life changes and circumstances change. God stays the same.
Mhm. Amen.
It's so good.
Yeah,
So
you can
good.
preach that.
Yeah, I know, right? Let's do it now. So, okay. So, I would love, what encouragement would you give to someone who wants to change but feels overwhelmed by where to start, where to begin?
Mm. You know, the encouragement would be to be still.
Mm.
Like, we can't I mean, we get in the I don't know about you, but I get in the figure out mode, right? Like, just that question, where do I begin, right? That's a panic question. Where do I start? And so I've learned something new. I guess it's not new, but I've learned the value of breathing, Amber. Like, when I was a young mom, nobody told me, stop and just breathe, right? And so I would say my encouragement would be start with taking some deep breaths and
Yes.
becoming aware of where you're at right now. And yeah, you can't start when you're in the chaos of the
Mm.
overwhelm. And
Yeah.
so you've got to start by learning how and what it looks like to find stillness, because I've been teaching this 4-week mastermind, and we start with rest, and the second week is restoration. And we want God to, what we're talking about is a restoring of the soul, right? Right. We're
Yes.
overwhelmed. We don't want to do this anymore. We can't live this way. We're fragmented. We're living a fragmented life, and we need God to bring us back together to wholeness. And restoration does not happen without rest. I mean, it's at the beginning of the word restoration, rest, right?
Yeah.
And so rest makes space for God to begin to come in and restore our soul. And I think about it, Psalm 23, it says, leads me beside still waters. That's the rest, right? He makes me lie down. Oh, that's it. He makes me lie down by still waters, right? He's making me.
Mhm.
You know, honey, if you can't do it, I bet you someday God will make you lie down, right? And we
Yes.
don't want that. Like, we don't want to be incapacitated. We don't want to be sick. We don't want to have our teeth falling out, right? And all that
Yes.
stuff. He's going to make us lie down so he can restore our soul, because that's his
Mm.
good purpose for us.
Yeah, that's good. That's such a good reminder. I love how you brought up breathing. That's something I teach all of my clients because it literally, when your breath, when your exhale is longer than your inhale, it literally brings your body out of fight or flight, teaches your nervous system that it is safe, allows you to stop running from a bear so that then you can prioritize, your body can prioritize thought process, digestion, hormone production, energy production. So it's amazing how we think, oh, it's just
Mhm.
breathing, but it really radically changes everything. And so, yes, no, restoration, that is a beautiful picture. God does bring us by still waters. And it's interesting that you brought
Mm.
that point up that we don't want to be made to rest. And it's so neat because during the last 5 to 7 years, my husband and I have walked through just some horrific challenges. But there are a few rhythms that I had in my life that set me up to be able to walk through that challenge honestly healthy. And I'm so thankful. A few rhythms of just, exercising every morning, spending time with the Lord every morning, writing down 5 things I'm thankful for every morning. Just a few things. It wasn't just this overarching, these massive things I did, but it was just a few rhythms that I had in place that helped me get through that season victoriously. I love the song by Kane, I Made It. That's like my anthem. So good. So good. Well, Misty, thank you so much for being here with me today. Can you share with my listeners where they can find you?
So, yes. And first, I want to say thank you so much for having me and this engaging, amazing conversation. It's been so fun to be with you, Amber. You are a brilliant hostess. So thank you. Your listeners can find me, and I actually have a great episode with you as my guest on mom to mom mentoring. And so that's my podcast, and that's the best place to find me. I've got great guests like Amber on there, mom mentors that will inspire and support you in your mom journey. And again, it's the number 2 mommentoring.com. So thanks.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. And for all of my listeners, please go listen to that podcast. We all need mentors in our lives. I feel like that's one of the things that's lacking in a woman's life these days is a mentor. So thank you so much, Misty, for offering this and providing this for women. And thank you for being here with me today. What a wonderful interview with Misty Hughes from Mom to Mom Mentoring. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you leave encouraged? Would you let us know in the comments and follow us? Leave a review for us. Go ahead and share it with another friend, another mom who needs some encouragement. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the bell. So if this was resonating with you, if this was just like, "Ah, this is for me," guess what? First things first, you have got to get to the root of why you have low energy, high anxiety, why your hormones feel just chaotic and imbalanced, why you just don't feel like yourself again. Grab the link to the symptom quiz in the show notes, and it comes with a personalized video with your results from me. You can begin there, and then I want you to Mom Mentoring Podcast. Go ahead and follow Misty because I know that you will feel encouraged. You will be uplifted. And go to the show notes and grab a gift from Misty to you. And remember that health is a journey, but it is a journey worth taking.